Hi everyone, today I'm doing part 2 of my C-section and this one is about the recovery process, and I'm gonna start straight away from where I left off in the previous one, which is going to the recovery room, which they roll you into after your C-section. And I was there for about 4 to 5 hours, I think, and as I mentioned before, they put you in the compression socks. So what they do here on top of the compression socks, they put your legs into this machine that basically compresses your leg every couple of minutes. It's very loud, so recommendation number 1, take some earplugs with you, which I took with me, but I didn't know where they were. And after the recovery room, they sent my husband home, so he wasn't with me when I had all the bags, and I didn't think about reaching for it beforehand, and I didn't want to call anyone to have to go through my bags to find them. But between the leg machine and someone snoring next to me in the ward, I couldn't sleep, and the baby. But you go to the recovery room and you're there for about 4 to 5 hours, like I said, and then you can do skin to skin with your baby if you want to. They put your baby in a nappy for the first time, put your baby in the nappy, and then you can put him skin to skin with you. You can breastfeed if you want and all that stuff as well. That's all encouraged. You're there for a few hours, take photos, take videos, all that stuff. You're fine. Once that is done, they moved me to the ward with everyone else that was there, you know, your curtains and that kind of thing. I was there through the night. They were really bad for me in terms of coming when I called, and then, you know, you would call because you cannot get up. You've got your legs stuck, you cannot move your legs. One thing is, I don't remember at what point I started feeling my legs again because they were trapped in that machine. I feel like I didn't really have a knowledge of when the anesthetic stopped working. I just, you know, I couldn't move my legs, and then next day, 14 hours later, I was trying to get up. I didn't have like a, you know, I don't know what happened in between, but I couldn't get up to help my baby or do anything, and they were not coming. They were really bad. Yeah, usually you're there for 2 nights. They told me after a C-section. I was there for 1 night. I'll explain more about why, but second day they asked me if I was, you know, if I wanted to go home, and I basically said yes because of that reason, because I wanted to have the help. I didn't want to be there on my own. I couldn't really do much on my own. The pain and all of that, I really couldn't imagine another night with them not coming to help me when I called. I decided to go home on the second one, but usually they said you're there for 2 nights. But yeah, next day in the morning, the doctors came in to speak to you about, you know, what happened. Obviously you didn't go in wanting, in my case, I didn't go in wanting to have a C-section. It just happened, an emergency C-section. So they come to you to explain why that happened, if you understand why that happened, you know, covering, you know, their butts a little bit in terms of, are you happy with it? Do you understand why? And all that stuff, which, you know, is good, but yeah. And then after that, after I had already gotten up and everything, the anesthetist also came back to see if you felt your body again, basically. Sometimes you don't feel all your body straight away. You can have parts of your body that you don't feel. Even to this day, I don't feel it as much, but for about 3-4 months or so. If this is my scar, literally the skin right above it, I couldn't feel at all. Apparently that's very common, very normal, but the rest of my body I was able to feel basically the following day straight away. I didn't have any issue with that, but yeah, they come in to check to see if that's all gone fine and all that stuff. And then you're still in your catheter up until the following day. For me, it was about 14 hours when they removed it. And they come and check, there's a pad under you collecting blood and everything that's coming out. And they also take your catheter out. And one of the requirements for you to go home is to do a pee of 200 ml, at least 200 ml. So didn't do it before the catheter, because what's the point in me drinking all the water if it's gonna go through the catheter? But after they took it out, I started drinking my water to make sure that I was gonna have enough in me. And I didn't feel like I had to go, but I knew when I had drunk enough that I probably needed to go. So then you have to call help to get up, because obviously it's not easy to get up. It's not the same, you know, to have slept 12 hours and then get up than to actually have your legs numb. You couldn't feel your legs, you couldn't get up for 12 hours, and then you get up. It's actually quite difficult. And also with the C-section scar and where they opened you, you don't realize the amount of work that those muscles actually do in a day. You need them for everything. So like getting up, laying down, going to the bathroom, walking, whatever it is, you use those muscles. So everything is really difficult and painful. You can't really move them. You don't want to do it because you don't want to do too much. It's also painful, it's very sore, and you don't want to do it. So it's very difficult to get up, and you have to call them in case you fall and all that stuff. You get up, they can put your, you can put your underwear on, or tenor ladies like I brought, because you are bleeding quite a lot at this point, and they walk you to the bathroom, and then you're there with a little receptacle, little tub of cardboard they give you, because you have to give it to them so they can actually check that you've done enough. So you go in, and one of the things that I didn't realize is how I would forget to go pee, and my brain was just like, how does this actually work? My body didn't know how to do it, my brain was trying to do it, my body was not doing it. So it took me a few minutes, and even the lady knocked on the door and she was like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, just trying to get this done. And then, you know, just telling my brain to please go and do this to my body. Drop by drop, I started peeing eventually, and then yeah, it started coming in a bit, and I did 300 ml, so that was great, so that's good. If you don't do it the first time, that's fine. You know, if you've only done 100, that's fine. They're not going to release you yet, but you can go again later and try again. Like, it's completely fine to do that. Also, just to know, you're bleeding quite heavily, you've got blood clots and stuff. They told me if they're bigger than a 50p coin, which is like that kind of thing, then worry. If they're smaller, completely fine and normal. But just something to know, that, you know, to expect it happening. Then you can, you know, go back to your bed and just be there for a while until you want to get up again, maybe. Another one of the things that you're gonna need for 10 days, so that day being number 1, and then 9 more days at home or in the hospital, wherever you are, the 9 following days, is daily injections, so your blood doesn't clot, really. And the first one the doctor did, and then the second one, or the midwife did. And then she taught my husband how to do it. You can, you know, she can teach, or they can teach you how to do it, or they can teach whoever's with you if you find that easier. I find it easier, I think, for another person to do them, but you can also do them yourself pretty easily. It's a very thin needle, you know, fine, on top of your, above your scar. And just do, you know, a daily one for your 10 days, that day being 1 and 9 more, and that's it. Pretty easy. And they also give you pain medication. So that day in the hospital, every couple hours they would come in and be like, do you want more pain meds? I'd say yes. Every time they came in, I said yes. I didn't feel it at that time, the pain sometimes, especially if I was just in bed sitting there, but I thought, I'm gonna need them. I think, you know, when I walk, I can tell that everything is quite sore, so I don't want to get to the point where effect of whatever I've taken before, whatever I've had before, is running out and I'm starting to get pain. So I took them, and then they also send you home with more of those tablets, which is, I've got them somewhere, I had to see the actual name, but it's basically a mix of codeine and paracetamol. So they give them to you. So I took all those pain meds in the hospital, and then I took the ones they gave me 2 more days at home, and then I didn't feel like I needed them anymore, so I didn't take any more. Just 3 days of pain meds that I had. They also give you a laxative. Those tablets will make you more constipated, and so they give you a laxative at the same time to, like, you know, counterbalance the effect of that. And with that said, leads me to, you know, your number 2 situation, the toilet. And it's fine if it takes 5 to 6 days. Again, even with the laxative, and I think, I didn't really think about it. I thought it was more when you have a vaginal birth that you struggle with that, but no, also with the C-section, because of, you know, the effort that you have to do with those muscles. 5 to 6 days, completely normal. Some people will do it on day 1, also fine, but they ask you, the midwife asks you on the day, and then day 2 when they come in to see you, and day 5 again, they ask you again if you've been, because it's one of the things that, you know, you will struggle with. That's why they ask you, because it's a normal thing to struggle with. But 5 to 6 days is normal. If you take longer, I imagine they'll give you more laxative, I don't know, but yeah, 5 to 6 days, completely normal. And then another one of the struggles, especially for me, was laying down and all of that. Obviously in the hospital, you've got your bed that goes up and down with a button, very nice, you can lay down, and then if you want to get up, you bring it up, and then you get up. A bit easier. Again, very difficult to get up and down. At one point we had to go to another side of the hospital where they were doing the test on the baby, and I walked over there and, you know, struggled to walk very, very slowly, like step, 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 very, very slowly. Got there and they're like, oh, here's a chair if you want to sit down. I looked at the chair, I went to sit down, I was like, no. Looked at the bed, I was like, I'll sit on the bed. No, I'm just gonna stand. And I really couldn't sit down. I thought the effort of sitting down and getting up, and the pain of that was not worth me sitting for 20 minutes. So I just stood there, which was also painful, but easier than, you know, having to do the other effort. You don't have any of that. So one of the things when you go home is, especially if you have a planned C-section, obviously otherwise you don't know that this is gonna happen, but if you have a planned C-section, definitely put a lot of pillows and cushions and everything on your bed, so that if this is laying down, your back is kind of like at this angle. That's what I found most helpful. You know, sofa cushions, all of it, just make it all firm so you can be okay. It took me about 2.5 months to be able to lay down in bed comfortably. Otherwise my skin was pulling. I didn't feel comfortable, so I slept, you know, at that angle for about 2.5 months, and that's the situation. You might be able to do it faster. I just didn't want to push it, so that's how long it took me, and about 3 months to actually be on my front, which is how I prefer to sleep. So it took me 3 months to comfortably be on my front, 2.5 to lay down, 3 to be on my front. I also had like the little bandage on top of my scar for 5 days. Day 5 you go to the midwife and she takes it off for you. I didn't have staples in my scar. I just had the dissolvable stitches. I didn't have like actual stitches that they have to remove, so they just like dissolve inside of you somehow. I don't know how it works, but you do have a bandage on you for 5 days. So in terms of showering, for example, you have to do very quick showers, and once they take that bandage off, you have to really pat your skin dry, make sure that there's no water on it. So I would just dry it with my towel, and then I would take toilet paper and just like pat it dry to make sure that there was no water on it. In terms of recovery, there's the thing about 6 weeks, which is there's 6 weeks that you can't do things. There are 6 weeks that things are gonna happen to you. It's like the magic number for the C-section. So bleeding, for example, it's 6 weeks that you're gonna bleed. At first you bleed a lot more than a period. For example, the first 3 to 5 days is the heaviest, and then it starts, you know, getting less and less to the point that it's less than a period, but it still can be daily. And my midwife said, you know, sometimes it feels like you're done, but at 6 weeks you're not done. And it's true. Some days it would feel like it stopped, but then the following day it'll come back. And it's 6 weeks that you're basically bleeding. And then it's 6 weeks for not taking a bath, they say. I haven't even done it until now because I just haven't felt the need. But if you're someone who takes baths a lot, it's 6 weeks that you're not supposed to like submerge in water. 6 weeks for driving, for example. 6 weeks that the only thing that you can carry, or like the heaviest thing that you can carry, is your baby. Even like having the baby and the car seat too much, no, cannot do that. Going up and down stairs, which for me is not really an issue because I live in a flat, but if you're in a house, I think the recommendation is that you go upstairs to your bedroom, set up camp over there basically, so you don't have to go up and down all the time, because they do say 6 weeks for that as well, which, you know, sometimes you feel like you're able to do things, but because I do feel like, you know, there's a lot of pulling and tugging of the skin when you move, and a bit of like, that pulled my skin a bit, which, yeah, personally I didn't feel comfortable doing loads of things. Even past the 6 weeks, I felt like I couldn't really, you know, pick up the whole car seat with my baby, especially if your baby gets heavier as well. So if you feel like you need a bit longer, that's completely fine as well, but 6 weeks is usually the recommendation. As a summary, basically, in terms of the timeline, the first 2 to 3 days are the worst in terms of not being able to get up, move, and all of that stuff, the pain as well. That's when it's the worst. Day 5, I was able to move around a bit better. You know, I went to the hospital to see the midwife, and I was able to walk and sit and all that stuff a bit better. 10 days, you do start to feel like yourself, like you can get out of bed a bit easier. You know, 10 days, 2 weeks, you know, you can get out of bed a lot better, easier. You can move around, you can, you know, pick things up a bit more comfortably, like, you know, even move side to side like that feels a bit easier. And then for me, 3 months is when I definitely felt like I was recovered. As I said, laying down in bed, laying down on my front to sleep and that kind of thing, that took 3 months. And that's when I would consider the recovery ended for me, because up until that point, there were things that I couldn't do that I did before. So up until that point is when I would consider my recovery of the C-section ended. But of course, before that, as I said, after 2 weeks, I felt so much better, although there were still loads of things that I couldn't really do. Another one is also sensation. As I said, on top of my scar, I couldn't feel sensation a lot. To this day, which is 7 months after my C-section, I still don't have full sensation of that area. And they said to me, you might never recover that, and you know, it is what it is. I'll take it. If that's, you know, the worst thing that happens from my C-section, I'll take it, it's fine. But I'll say again, about 3 months I couldn't really like feel it at all, and then after that I started to gain a bit more of that sensation. So I don't know if I'll ever get it back. I might do, I might not do, I don't know. But after 3 months I did start to feel it a bit more so. And of course I bet I've left some things out that I couldn't remember, or things that you might have questions on, anything like that, please let me know in the comments and I'll get back to you. But hopefully, if you made it to this point, I hope you enjoyed the video, you liked it and it was helpful. And if it was, please let me know and give the video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys later with another video. Bye!